She has been married for 5 years, but her husband never saw her face without makeup. She goes to sleep with her husband at night with the lights turned off. The moment her husband falls asleep, she quickly gets up from the bed and goes to the bathroom. She makes sure that she locks the door behind her. Then she fixes her hair with a curling tool. Afterwards, she rips off her fake eyelashes, wipes off her lipstick, then washes her face clean. She applies a hydrating sleep mask to her face. Finally, she wraps her headband. Her beauty routine for the day is done with ease. It is time for her to gently returns to her bedroom while not making a sound. For the end, she opens a small crack on the window. This is the key step. She finished all these things before she laid back down next to her husband. The next morning, the sun shines directly in her eyes. She realized that it was morning and got up. Anne went to the bathroom again. She washes the mask off her face. Then she applied a light foundation to her face and also put fake eyelashes again. Let's add red lipstick. Next, she puts down the hair that has been curled by the curling iron to make it a little curly. Finally, she sprays a little perfume all over her body. She is ready now for her husband to wake up. Anne carefully went back to bed. Her husband woke up in the morning to see his flawless wife in full shine. Anne has been doing this every day for 10 years. She has always been very hard on herself. She decided at the age of 6 that she wanted to study Russian literature in college. At 12, she found the perfect haircut for her head style. At 13, she announced to everyone that she was going to the best women's college, and she also became an alumna of Katharine and Hepburn. Anne didn't eat any solid food for a month to fit into her wedding dress. She did daily yoga to slim down. She also had to measure and record every inch of her body. For example, every inch of thigh thickness had to be strictly controlled. Anne did all this to have a perfect marriage. She married her loving Mark at her most beautiful and young age. She then became the perfect wife for the rest of her life. Anne would prepare breakfast for her husband early before he left for work. After she dropped him off, she would come to her parents' house upstairs to take care of the kids. Anne is also very supportive of her husband's hobby of doing stand-up comedy. In order to give her husband more time to perform on stage, she used to bribe the coffee shop owner by making the food herself. She is a huge fan of her husband's stand-up comedy and sits happily off stage to watch him perform. Anne also notes down all of the funny jokes that she hears on the internet, and she thinks about how can Mark improve his current jokes. Anne can be called the best wife in the world, but even though she has done so many things for more than a decade for Mark, he just didn't appreciate it enough. After 10 years, Mark finally showed his true face. The other day, Mark was in the car and had a fit over some holes in the clothes Anne had prepared for him. Anne gave him a proposition to tell a joke on stage about his bad wardrobe. Unfortunately, the jokes didn't hit with the crowd and nobody laughed.
Holes in my sweater.
The audience fell silent at his performance. Mark's performance ended in failure and unpopularity. As soon as Mark got home, he started packing his bags. He said he couldn't go on living like this. Anne tried to apologize for giving her husband this idea. Anne anxiously said that she would do better from now onwards and that she would change herself. But then Mark suddenly revealed his big secret. He told Anne that he had an affair. This was not a joke. Mark abandoned such a good wife to have an affair with someone else. Some random secretary that is mediocre and incompetent. After Anne learns that her husband is having an affair with a secretary who can't even sharpen a pencil, she was devastated by the news. She drank a whole bottle of red wine and left the house late at night in her pajamas. The temperature of the rain outside was not as cold as her heart. Anne went to the cafe where they usually performed stand-up comedy. With the help of alcohol, she walked on stage alone when no one was performing. She was speechless and helpless. And so she took off the microphone just so that she can start roasting cheating man and their morals.
I can't believe I'm losing him to Penny Pan. Penny Pan! Penny Pan!
Anne didn't expect her heartfelt roast to get a lot of laughter and applause from the audience. People loved her. That's when Susie, the manager, noticed her very talented performance. She took one look at her and decided that Anne must be a rising star in stand-up comedy. Susie then made an offer to work with Anne. Anne's life has been nothing but family for nearly a decade. She never wanted to be a comedian, but when she opened her notebook and saw all the notes and gags and memes she had written for Mark, she suddenly realized that she really liked stand-up comedy. So she said yes to Susie's job offer. Susie was confident that she could make her the most popular stand-up comedian. Anne thought at this point she wanted to be not only the best comedian, but also to be the most beautiful independent woman and live for herself. Even though Anne was gifted in stand-up comedy, her career wasn't going to be smooth. She had to go through a lot of ups and downs on her way to becoming a superstar. Anne has been gaining more and more viewers' attention through her sarcastic comments on family, marriage, and her ex-husband. Anne has gained more and more fans by the day, and her husband, who is having an affair affair with his secretary, goes to his parents and confesses that he wants to divorce Anne. However, the next day, Mark's young woman's secretary was replaced with an old lady. Mark's parents only recognize Anne as their daughter-in-law. Mark was afraid that his father would refuse to pay him his salary and other benefits. He thought about it and decided that the best wife for him was Anne. He clearly had pure intentions, so he approached Anne again and said he should give her another chance. Anne immediately refused because it was Mark who chose to leave her in the first place. Anne was already planning to start a new life. She moved back in with her parents for a while. Her stand-up comedy career was well underway. Anne's life away from men is a life of leisure and freedom. Mark, whom she left behind this time, was not to be outdone. Mark simply moved in with his mistress. They even invited Anne to their home, but Anne didn't know until she came. When she came to this room, at first she was really angry. Who wouldn't be? Mark's new room was decorated and furnished exactly the same as the home where Anne was married. Mark also bought the sofa that she wanted to buy before, but didn't. Even the dressing of Mark's mistress was a replica of Anne's. She couldn't help but to speak out.
You know what's funny? I don't have my apartment anymore. You have my apartment. You have a lot of my things, actually. You're welcome.
She was neither angry or sad. She just got one more gag for her stand-up comedy show to make everyone laugh. What doesn't kill you makes stronger. Anne has learned to stop relying on others. She wants to become more independent and confident. Anne's previous happy life was carefully protected in a beautiful ceramic bottle. This life looks delicate, but it was a fragile product. It was far worse than Anne's current life. Anne is now boldly pursuing herself and expressing herself. Although she still has to face many difficulties, that doesn't discourage her. She has learned to be brave and strong. That is the end of this story. Subscribe if you want to see more movie recaps like this.